Hello, everybody. This is Bobby C. I'm here with Anonymous Addiction at My Truth About AA. And yes, this is as Bobby C sees it. And I did say I'm Bobby C. Over here, we have Joey C. Say hello, Joey.
What's up, everybody? Joey C here on East Coast. Check me out, Brutally Sober, on Spotify or wherever else you feel like going.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. You go over to our other podcast is Alcoholics Anonymous Deprogramming podcast, and we'll probably be over there a little later this week. But we're going to get right. We're going to start deprogramming the traditions. We're going to go tradition one. A lot of people never probably been to a tradition meeting that's been to Alcoholics Anonymous. Just in case you do get to one, we're going to start deprogramming some of them. You know, in the big book, at the end of the big book, they have two versions. They got a short, it says the 12 traditions short form, and then they got 12 traditions the long form, right? And then they came out 17 years later. You believe that? I mean, 17 years later, they had to write another book so they could make some more money. And they came out with the 12 and 12. And this is long. This is a long version, okay? So we're going to kind of break them down real quick to our best of our ability. And I'm going to start with tradition one. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is but a small part of a great whole. AA must, they say there's no must. Well, here's one of them. AA must continue to live, or most of us will surely die. Hence, our common welfare comes first, but individual welfare follows close afterwards. That to me right there, you know, I used to go to tradition meetings. I go to step meetings, and I used to go to some tradition meetings. And the more I read that since I've been away, the more it's like crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazier. The more I read it, the longer I'm away, and I read it. And I'm saying to myself, damn. Well, when you read that, Joe, what'd you get out of it?
Well, I mean, listen. What did you, real quick? What version did you just read? You read the original or the?
I read out of the big book. I
You
read out
of
of
the big book.
the big book. Now, the step book, it says the same thing, really. It says, let's see what the step book says. The step book says, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends AA unity. But see, they switched it. They switched the title, but they still said the same thing. In the step book, the big step book, it says, our lives, the lives of all to come, squarely depend upon it. We stay whole or AA dies. I think they left out, see, they left out that we stay whole or AA dies. And let's see where it says it, anarchist, yeah. See, they took it out on the big book, on the other one. The short one says, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on AA unity. But on the long form in the big book, which they had for 17 years, that's all they had, right? It says, each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is but one small part of a great whole. AA must continue to live, or most of us will surely die. Okay, and it says it right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's just. I mean, I'm just laughing about it now. I mean, I'm stepped away from AA, and I hear this stuff, and it's just crazy. Now, I've only been to one step meeting, I think, and I remember hearing the moans even in AA rooms when the people didn't know that it was going to be not a step meeting, a traditions meeting. They didn't know. They didn't even want to. They didn't even want to hear it. They didn't want to pay attention to it. I don't know how many people in AA actually do pay attention to the traditions. But I was reading the from the 12 and 12 today. I was trying to anyway, but I tell you what, man, if you can't sleep, read the 12 and 12 because right. I mean, I couldn't get through it, Bobby. I tried to read 1 through 4. Holy shit. I was nodding out.
What did you find out? What'd you see in what did you see though in the reading that you did read on in the Big 12 and 12 book?
I don't even, I can't, I didn't take notes. I should have took notes, but I couldn't remember. But anything, they're like each like 7 to 9 pages.
Here we go, Joe. In the big book, in its step book, the 12 and 12.
Yeah.
See, they made it real long, but they still stuck it in there. If he diverts too far, if he, me, they don't say she. It's just 17 years later. They had women in this, a lot of women in the groups. They always said he. Now listen to this. If he diverts too far, the penalty is sure and swift. He sickens and dies.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to go any further than that. Like you talk about, I'm going to die if I don't do what you say. I'm tapping out. That's all there is to it.
You know, and people will say, Bobby, why are you talking about the traditions? Most people don't even go to a tradition meeting. Let me tell you something. Here's the deal. The controlling minority. I'm talking about the controlling minority. Now listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. The controlling minority controls all Alcoholics Anonymous. The silent majority is Joey and everybody that don't go to the tradition meetings. They're just they don't really give a shit. They go in today, but here's the deal. These affect the group. So if you're going to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, you are part of that group. You're a member. You know, I'm a member. My only requirement is a desire to stop drinking. And that's one of the traditions we're going to be reading. So it affects you no matter if you think it doesn't or not. You're part of this organization. Okay, let's go to 2, Joe, because we're only going to do a 15-minute podcast on this. Let's go to tradition 2. Okay, here we go. Now we're going into tradition 2. Now somebody just new comes in and their sponsor says, "Come on, you got to get to the traditions because you know that keeps our group together and keeps it whole. And if it don't stay whole, we're going to sicken and die. So you better get on a ball through guilt and shame." So let's go to 2. Here's 2. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority. Now, for you agnostics and atheists and are separating from the traditional AA and think you're doing something different because you left out God, it's an authority. A loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Okay. As God may express himself in group conscious. You have to really understand what group conscious means. And I'll get into that in another tradition. But group conscious, you have to understand what a group conscious is. It's the controlling minority. That's what the group conscious is. It's the old timer. It's the elder statesman. It's the wise old one. That's who the group conscious, because they always look up to them and they follow the group conscious. But what do you think about that?
Sorry, Bobby.
No, what do you think about step 2? Tradition 2. Go ahead.
So whatever their God is, they're listening to their God. Whatever their God is, whatever they say, is going to trickle down to everyone else. I mean, that doesn't make. I thought we're supposed to all have our own God. I mean, now we're just listening to these guys up at the top, and whatever their God says is what we're supposed to do. That doesn't line up with everything that it's supposed to be. I mean, I thought we were all supposed to have our own God.
Yeah, you know, for the audience, I've been around. I was in Alcoholics Anonymous for over 30 years, okay? And I've been deprogramming myself and other people, helping them all years during being in. I've been out of Alcoholics Anonymous meetings for about 6 years now. Joey's been to meetings back and forth. Joey, you're over 2 years sober. Joey's, you know, we're just saying this because we're talking about it, but Joey's over 2 years sober. Joey's being deprogrammed because if he goes to a tradition meeting, he's going to have some awareness and consciousness about what we're talking about prior to going into a tradition meeting, which most people don't have. That's why we're doing this podcast. Most people don't have the information prior to going in. So they get sucked in. Their sponsor tells them what to do, how to do it, what to say and what not to say. Joey, did you read, what do you think about that tradition 2?
Well, I understand what they're trying to say about there's nobody governing the group or the whole AA itself, even though that's not true. But I just it doesn't make any sense to me about for our group purpose there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God, as he may express himself in our group conscious. I mean, what if somebody's first meeting was, it just happened to be a traditions meeting. They had to get to that meeting. All right. And they're reading this shit. I mean, come on. The guy, the this is why people don't go to, this is why people are scared of AA, and I guess it's for a good reason.
Yeah. And then when they say group conscious, I'm telling you, it's the controlling minority. All right, let's go to tradition 3, okay, which is, now it's written 3 different ways, because the short one is, the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. Now, we all know that. That's the short one. And we all know that. We could just stick with that. The only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. Now, if you go to the long form, our membership ought to include all who suffer from alcoholism. Hence, we may refuse no one who wishes to recover, nor ought AA membership ever depend upon money or conformity. Any 2 or 3 alcoholics gathering together may call themselves an AA group. They don't even say with the 3rd tradition, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking in the long form. Okay. But then when they came out with the big 12 and 12, when they came out with the 12 and 12 for more money, because the whole thing's about books, the grapevine is nothing but pamphlets and books. Then they say it again. Now it's up top. And they say, here's a grapevine. They say it again. The only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. How much more time we got, Joe? We're on 3.
We got 2.5 minutes. So let me ask you, I don't have a problem with this tradition.
2.5 minutes. Wow.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
What's the problem?
Okay. Here's the problem I see. Okay. See, when you go into a tradition meeting, you go in with this book, this 12 and 12. Okay. And that one there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages, 6 pages. Now I read them all and I highlight them, because the society that I joined, I want to know about it. Okay. If the steps control my body, mind, and spirit, and the 12 traditions control the group, I'm a member of the group. So I better know what the hell I'm getting into here if I'm really serious about what they're talking about here, because God forbid, I'm surely going to die if I don't do these things.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Tradition 3. Saying to every serious drinker, you are an AA member if you say you are. Okay, no matter who you are, no matter how long you've gone, no matter how grave your emotional complications are, even your crimes. We don't care if your crimes. I don't care how your grave emotional complications are. I don't care if you committed crimes. We still can't deny AA. We don't want to keep you out, which I don't have a problem with that. But it's right here when I'm talking. Never mind how twisted or violent you may be. We don't care how twisted or violent you may be. We don't care. We don't even care if you're a beggar, tramps, insane inmates, prisoners, queers, crackheads, crackpots, or fallen women. I mean, this is in the traditions. When you get into it, when you're in a tradition meeting, if you get sucked in like I did, you're always questioning. Okay, Joey, you're lucky. You came and joined me a long time ago. Okay, but you had it You were saying stuff before I even met you, because you were doing Broly Sober podcast and you were digging out all the stuff that you even seen without even investigating, you know?
Well, I had prior experience as well, but yeah,
Yeah,
it was clear to it was there was a lot of obvious things to me that didn't make sense.
which
We're coming up on 15 minutes here. You want to do a 4-part series? 3, 6, 9, 12?
now we're going to go right into we'll do the 4. As a group, let's see, AA on the calendar. Okay, a newcomer appears at now in this tradition, the 12 traditions. When you go to a tradition meeting, these are what you're going to read. You're going to read this whole thing, and you're going to dissect it, because they're going to break it down. They're going to dissect it because people talk on it as they go. And they don't criticize it. They talk all good, and they can spin everything there is in here, spin it to their way. That's the way it is. With alcoholics, one of the whole pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the pages, 5 of them are just talking about when a newcomer appears. And the other 2 is talking about salesman Ed, who he came in as an atheist. He comes in, Ed, it's 3 pages. Ed comes in as an atheist, and he's saying, I'm an atheist. I don't want this religion. Well, of course, Ed's a bleeding deacon, and he keeps on saying all kinds of different stuff, criticizing things. But in this is one person, Ed. He goes out and drinks. Ed goes out and drinks. Of course he does, because he wasn't listening to the steps. He wasn't listening to the traditions. He went out drunk. He got drunk. This is a story in the tradition that trying to get me to feel like guilty and shameful and fearful. And this is how they do it. Okay, now Ed goes, he's in a hotel room, and he happens to touch a Bible and opens it up. And ever convinced anymore, he saw and felt the hotel room, and he hasn't had a drink since. Now he's an atheist. Now Ed's story is an example how an atheist turns to the Bible and becomes a big book thumper with God. Now tell me if that's not coercive persuasion, And listen to this though. They're talking about Ed only 3 years into the program. This is when the program was only 3 years old. Now, this book was written 17 years later. They could only come up with one guy.
Good point.
That was an atheist, and now he's, who knows? He could be a born-again Christian. Atheist and agnostic, I don't know what you're doing. I don't even know why you're staying around. Separate from Alcoholics Anonymous, please, and go start your own secular recovery programs and do yourself and everybody else a favor. What was that? Tradition?
Well, it's really,
go ahead.
It's really insulting the way that they say it's okay, you don't have to believe in God. You just have to try and believe in God. And then you just have to make up a higher power. And then your higher power can be anything. Well, sir, I still don't believe in God. Don't worry. You're going to believe in God. They just know that eventually you're going to basically believe in the same God that everyone else does. And it's insulting. It's insulting.
Yeah, it is kind of insulting to a rational, logical, critical thinking, free thinking process, and that's where the brainwashing, I'll call it brainwashing, the cult mentality, the brainwashing, the group think. Okay, I have a thing on group think, and I won't talk about it right now, but group thinking is very dangerous, and I don't know if I have it right here or not. I can't find it right now. But look up groupthink, groupthink. That's very dangerous, and that's what it's all about. The group shall survive. You're secondary. If the group goes down, you die. Forget about any other
Yeah.
program, any other modality, any other method. If the group goes down, you die.
Yeah, you gotta look out for AA as a whole first, and then you're second.
Right. You want to stop here? We'll do 1, 2, and 3, and then continue on 4, 5, and 6.
Sure, let's do it.
Or do you want to do another one? Just go with another one. Because the other one, let's do 4. Here, let's do 4. Because you know what?
Bobby,
Yeah.
let me tell you something. It's
What?
Saturday night, all right? I'm not drinking, okay? I'm good. I'm good to go, baby. I'm good to go.
Oh,
This is my Saturday night, and this is what I like to do on my Saturday night. As a matter of fact, people, I'm good to go. Let's do it, man. I'm up for anything, all right?
you know what? See, he's good to go. Me and him are good to go. But you know what? That lady and that young man or that young lady or that young, he's going to go to a tradition meeting one day, and he's going to say, holy shit, I heard Joey, Bobby talk about this deprogramming stuff on these traditions. Wow, I'm so glad I heard another side of it prior to going in. And that's why we're doing it. Here we go. Tradition 4. Each group should be autonomous, except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. Now, ladies and gentlemen, look up autonomous. Please do. Please look up autonomous. Okay. What the hell does autonomous mean? Existing or acting separately from other people or things, having the power or right to govern itself, right? Responding, reacting, or developing, right? This is the definition of autonomous. Independent. Here's one I like: responding, reacting, or developing independently of the whole. Okay, independently of the whole. Now, let me read it again to you, ladies and gentlemen. Tradition 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. Does that sound like autonomous? That's not autonomous. That's not autonomy. Autonomy is separate. Okay, you can express your own views and opinions. They're saying, oh, you could be autonomous. It could be autonomous, but under these conditions.
Right.
Okay, what's that sound like to you, Joe? Just that what I just said.
That sounds like it sounds like my mom and dad telling me I can go out in the backyard and play. You can play wherever you want, little Joey. We just can't go there, and you can't go there. And you can't go there. You can't go there. You just gotta stay right there.
I like how he puts it in simple form. See, that's, you know what? That's how logical you can think about this stuff. Commonsensical. It's like common sense shit. Each group should be autonomous. Okay, sure. Most here must. Remember, they keep on saying there's no must. I already told you there was a must in the one. You must, unless you'll die, right? Here's another one. Must eventually conform to whatever test principles would guarantee survival. Must. There's another must, but there's no must. See, everything in Alcoholics Anonymous is like it's like cognitive dissonance, ambivalence. It's like, what? It's like you're almost trying to think this through. Joey, you're lucky you got deprogrammed before you really got programmed. Okay. You
Hey, I would have never got sucked in.
He wouldn't have. He wouldn't have, because he was doing a podcast already, talking crap. Okay. He was talking stuff about AA on his podcast. Okay, here we go. Look, a group ought not do anything which would greatly injure AA as a whole, nor ought it affiliate itself with anything or anybody, but you could be autonomous. Now, this is in the same, this is what you read when you go into a tradition. They hand out these books, the 12 and 12, because they bought 15 of them, 20 of them, because it's all about the grapevine making the money off the books. So you got to have a book. You don't have a 12 and 12? Come on. You got to
Nah.
get your, I'm just saying, you got to have a 12 and 12, right? Joey was smart enough not to buy a 12 and 12. Okay. That's sinful. That's shameful. Okay. I put a
One of
little, I put a
one of the
little,
things
go ahead. Go ahead.
you're killing me into it.
Go ahead.
One
Go
of the
ahead.
things I did retain while I was falling asleep reading the 12 and 12 traditions was in the 12 and 12, the long version. Yeah, I mean, he was bragging about that there is no musts
Yeah, right.
in the program, and that there is only oughts and shoulds, and that everything is a suggestion.
Right.
So that was in the 12 and 12 that I was reading online. Now, what did they do? They change it after that, or were
No,
before?
they say things and then they don't mean it. They say things and then so it's tricky. It's actually like it's trickery. That's what it is. It's fuckery. It's trickery. It's deceptive. It's part of, if you know about a cult, what we're doing is we're de-occulting. We're de-occult. I'm a de-occultist. Okay. I'm deprogramming, de-occulting. It's Alcoholics Anonymous is a cult. It's a cult mentality. Look up cult. Here we go. Some more. Sobriety had to be its sole objective. Here's the autonomy part. Look, listen to this. There will be no real danger should we commence to call some groups wet, some groups dry, some groups Republican or communist or Catholic or Protestant. Oh no, let's not name them groups. But you could go to a gay group. You could go to a pilots group. They have their own group. I went to one, Birds of a Feather. You can go to a lawyers group just for lawyers. They have separate groups. People name them groups. Whatever you read in this there's all kinds of contradictory stuff going on. When A was still young, and then they got this one big, huge, I said BS. It didn't need a group to do this. Oh, they always put one story in there. They always like put one story. You're supposed to have millions of members. You got all these books 17 years later, and you're putting one story about a guy in Middleton, you know, the old Middleton story. Everybody knows it. That's really in AA. Joey, you're not. Okay.
I know nothing about it.
Middleton story, who's a real crackpot, he wanted to start up rehabs because he had a group. He was in a group of Alcoholics Anonymous. So here they're trying to relate this to autonomy. They're trying to relate autonomy to this one story that's 3 pages long. And it talks about this guy. He had this idea. He was going to start rehabs. He was going to start his own educational project. He was going to start sober living houses. He even wrote to the foundation of AA headquarters in New York, asking approvals. And he was going to start venture capitalists with other members and you know, have regulations. And he had all these ideas of hospitals. He was going to start these hospitals and the club-minded hospitals. And then they made it like he was a sinner by thinking about this stuff. Don't take it too damn serious. They told him after he figured it out, after everybody said, you're crazy, you can't do none of this stuff. This isn't godly. This isn't autonomous. Okay. Then the cards, everybody will know. Middleton Group number 1, Rule 62. Once the card was unfolded, a single pertinent sentence leaped to the eyes. Don't take yourself too serious. Thus, it was under tradition 4, an AA group has exercised its right to be wrong. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you something. That story is so bullshit. It's so BS. It's unbelievable because they're talking about a group. Who cares about a group? No group should start hospital. But during that period, that's when all the hospitals started. That's when all the treatment centers started. That's when all the sober living houses started. That's when all the hospitals and all the detoxes and all that's how when the money, that's when the addiction recovery industry started, was back then at this time. Because this happened only, I think it was 2 years in the sobriety, into Bill's, not, it wasn't even Bill's, but Alcoholics Anonymous, which wasn't even named. It took 2 years to get named. They're using stories from way back then, bringing them 17 years later. They can't come up with another better story than that. I feel sorry for, and I know Bill didn't write any of this stuff. I mean, he helped, but this was written by a bunch of people. So what do you think about? Go ahead.
I mean, isn't that at the time when they would refuse people anyway because you weren't old enough, or you weren't, like on your deathbed? I mean, isn't that at about the same time when they were writing this stuff? They were also telling people, no, you're not bad enough. You're not on your deathbed. We're not going to be able to help you because you're not going to be just getting down on your knees, begging God to. They needed you to be on your knees, begging.
That was
And when you were,
that was in the beginning. This is written 17 years later, so they're using old stuff, bringing it in and creating all new scenarios and new stuff. But all I'm getting to the point is that they're using some old bogus stories. But you're right. No, in the beginning, you're right. That's what they did. Matter of fact, only the rich, only the wealthy really had treatment. Only the wealthy, the richer people. If you look at the roster in the very beginning of the first like 20 people, they all were they had good jobs. They were professionals, and they were higher up in the hierarchy. Of course, Bill's brother-in-law and the Rockefellers and all them, they all had they only helped in the beginning. It was just the trustees and the richer people that got into the trustees. But that's 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the tradition. Just imagine if you're sucked in, you're going to tradition meetings. So what do you think? What do you think about the 1, 2, 3, and 4 traditions, Joe?
well, I don't think most people in AA give a shit about the traditions. I mean, no one wants to go to a tradition meeting. When they go to a meeting and they find out it's a tradition meeting, I don't even think they care about it. But if you, like you said, if you're gonna call yourself a member, you should know what the hell is going on in the society that you're in.
Exactly. That's my point here.
Yeah, I do. I want to ask you, what if somebody like me wants to go to AA and just wants to go to meetings and doesn't want to work the program? Can someone go to AA, not work the program, and say, hey, listen, these are suggestions. I'm not taking a suggestion. I just want to hang out. Because my old man said when he was trying to get me to go to AA, he's like, listen, because he knew I wasn't going to want to be getting a sponsor and doing all this bullshit. He's like, just put your foot in the door. He said, just do something. He's like, if someone tells you want to get a sponsor, say, no, you don't. I don't have a sponsor. I don't need a sponsor. He said, my old man didn't do the steps. I don't think he didn't do the traditions. He didn't have a sponsor. For me, I feel like I'm a guy who can go to AA and say, and just, if anyone calls me out on anything, I could just be like, hey, it's a suggestion. I'm not taking a suggestion. I'm here for fucking moral support or whatever. Can I don't know. Is that a good suggestion for people to go somewhere just to hear other people's stories, and can they ignore the bullshit, or should we just, because AA is there, AA is right around the corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the sad part of it. It's convenient, and there's millions of meetings all over the world, and that's the
Right.
problem. It's a monopoly. It's a hierarchy pyramid monopoly, and it's very, I hate this. I mean, it's damaging. And these podcasts that we do, we're not down. I don't down members. I don't care. Other people, we could, if you're a predator and you're going after, women and doing bad shit, then we're going to call you the hell out on it. I'll call you right out on any shit like that. And if you're abusing somebody or ripping somebody off and robbing some, and that shit goes on all the time in all media, all different places. Okay, I'm talking about the structure and the programming, what goes on. Joe's question is, can you escape this stuff? Yeah, you can escape. There's people that go to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, for a couple of years, and then they stop and they quit on their own, just like Joe is doing. I have a couple friends, they don't do podcasts. I have a friend that I may be doing a podcast with tomorrow from Seattle. He's got like 6, 8 months. He's going on a year probably. He did it on his own. He never went to any meetings, And I know a lot of people that just go in. That's not the point. The point is that most people, I hate to say it, but it's like they know who to target. They know the desperate, they know how to create victims and who is going to be their little puppets to go out like Moonies and do this stuff. If you don't think this thing is big, it's huge. Go to a conference, go to an AA general service conference, go to a GSO meeting, general service rep meeting, go to a intergroup meeting, see how all these people go to tradition meetings. I know how big it is. People that don't go to the tradition meetings and just come in the meeting and they stay sober and they go out and they travel to other things and do other things. They probably are the silent majority, okay? But the minority, the controlling minority, they'll get you in and they'll keep you in. If you don't think it's big, go to something that's organized. Go to a conference. Go to a workshop. Go to something that's huge. I've been to a lot of different things. I've seen how big this thing is. The structure of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'll get into the 12 concepts. Read that. There's general service meetings that are huge. They go in with suit and ties. I mean, this thing is big. This is a world organization. This ain't no something just around the corner that you come in and out of. They want you to believe that, okay? But it's not. I wouldn't even be doing this if it wasn't. I mean, why would I waste my time? Not that I'm wasting my time, because I like doing it. But what the hell? Why would I waste my time if this thing wasn't screwing a lot of people up? I don't want my grandkids to have to go to a meeting and get sucked in and brainwashed and come back and say, Pop, you just don't know because you're not working the steps. If you had a guide, you'd understand. If you were on step 3 and 4 and doing the steps like you're supposed to do and turn your will and life over to care of God, letting it go, and you'll be a miracle too, And I've heard that thousands and thousands and thousands of times, So I understand where you're coming from, Joe. You're like, how the hell can this shit be happening?
And yeah, and so I gotta say this, because this is a place where I can say, and anything, as opposed to an AA meeting. I have to be honest here. I don't want anybody to not go to an AA meeting because of what I'm saying. If they are in a situation where they just need to be around some people, maybe they can't go, maybe they're in a situation where they just got to get out of the fucking house and be around people that aren't drinking. Something like that. I don't know. There's certain circumstances. I don't want to prevent anyone from going to an AA meeting because of what I said, where it could potentially help them in that moment, because there might be scenarios like that, but I just definitely want to do what we're doing on this podcast, which is letting people know. Basically, what I want to say is just enter with extreme caution.
Yeah.
Like I went in there, and I can't say that you know it didn't help me, just because for me, like I said 1,000 times, just being in that room with other people not drinking and hearing the experiences that they went through helped me. Now I can detach myself from all the bullshit. But if someone's in a situation and they don't know where to go, and there's an AA meeting right down the street, and their old man's drinking, or somebody's having a party at their house, and they're like, I gotta get, what am I gonna do? I gotta get out of here. Maybe they can go on, what they can do, go online on their phone in their bedroom while there's a party, you know, outside their door. Maybe in certain situations they can go to an AA meeting. I just don't want to prevent anybody from not going and it possibly helping.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's good that you're sharing that, because that's the way you feel. And I kind of feel the same way, but here's the other side of it. This is the way I look at it. Okay. When I came in 37 years ago, there was nothing. Okay. So yes, I had to run to a meeting after I just got done fighting with my wife and throwing a pot and pan against the damn kitchen table or whatever, and ran out of the meeting like an asshole. Yeah, I had to run to a meeting. Okay, I ran to a meeting. All right, and I knew where to go. There was a lot of them. But if I got to run to some place because I'm an asshole, or I'm thinking about drinking, there's so many. Look, here's the point I want to make. There's so many other methods, modalities, places to go. They just because they're not convenient, that doesn't make an excuse. They're not convenient. Okay, go to the AA meeting, but search something else out. That's what I'm saying. Okay, that's what Joey probably would say too. Go to an AA meeting, but search other things out. Type out smart recovery, harm reduction, Sinclair method, freedom model, recovery dharma, recovery refuge recovery, Matt. Go check out. There's like 15, 20, 30 different places. While you're going to an AA meeting, all I'm saying is check out other things. Check out. Don't get sucked into the cult mentality, and that's what Joe just got done saying. Because it's close. Okay, you feel like drinking, go to a meeting, sit there and listen and stuff like that. And if you can get something out of it, great. But check other things out, because I'm deprogramming. Whatever information you're listening to, you're going to hear something, because in there, I don't care if you go to a tradition meeting or not, or I don't care if you go to a step meeting or not, osmosisly and group think, you're going to get it in your brain, no matter if you like it or not. It's going to get there. Okay. It just hasn't got in Joey's mind too much, because you don't go to a lot of meetings. You see, let's be honest. How many meetings have you been to in the last 6 months? So Joey's lucky in that sense, and he's got this.
Also, this is a little thick. Can't
No,
really
he's
get
not.
through this.
No,
real
he's not
easy.
thick. Hey, look, this program's helping him. He started something way before I hooked up with him. He started Brutally Sober podcast on Spotify and Anchor. He started something that helped him, and that's how I connected with him. I heard something. I don't know how we got together, and I called him. I was the one. See, I seek something out. I seen something, and I seen something. That's what the message I'm trying to give to the audience. Seek and you shall find. Go further. Go outside the box. Go outside the triangle. This thing is because the courts are going to send you here. There's no separation of church and state. The courts are going to send you here because it's all connected. Like if you listen to Joey, some of the podcasts we do on Alcoholics Anonymous Deprogramming podcast, I connect a lot of dots. Okay, so we're not trying to hurt anybody. We're trying to help some people, because when they go out of detox, you're out of detox. You're not drinking. You're already not drinking. You come out of rehab. You go into rehab. You're not drinking. You already ain't drinking. You already did it. You did it. I hate to tell you, but it was you. You thought it was other things. You thought it was this and that. It's this. It was you. You went to detox, came out. You weren't drinking. It was you. You went to treatment center, 90-day. You didn't drink. Who was it? It was you. You came out. You went to Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. You didn't drink. Who was it? It was you. Okay. So all I'm saying is, while you're in there, seek other things out. They're actually giving some alternative methods now. Smart Recovery. They're sending people to Smart. We could talk about that stuff, but Joe, you're helping a lot of people. Okay, you're helping a lot of people on this podcast. Okay, and hopefully I'll help one or two along the way myself. What else you got to share, Joey?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're getting out of detox and you go to the wrong AA meeting, speaker meeting, or a meeting where they're sharing around the table or something like that, you might leave wanting to drink more than you did when you walked in. It's a common thing. It happened to me quite a bit. Just people, a lot of times people share it and they help me out, but a lot of times you hear stuff that brings a little bit of craving in your head because these people are just talking about war stories and stuff like that. So I know back in the day when I first was going into AA and I wasn't really sure what I was doing. I know I should be going to AA because my family wanted me to, but I wasn't so sure that I wanted to stop drinking. When I go into some of those meetings, man, and hear some of the stories, at that point I left wanting to drink. I left wanting to drink. And when I got in there, I didn't have a desire to drink, but when I left, I did. Now it's not really the same because I made the decision in my life that I'm not someone that wants to drink. So that's really, it's hard for anyone to say anything or do anything or that's gonna sway my opinion of myself easy enough for me to just say, oh, I'm going now I want to drink because I heard that guy's war story or whatever. Because people talking at AA at speaker meetings and they romanticize the shit out of drinking, whether they think they're doing it or not.
Yeah, it's one tops the other, and it's always, the weird part about it in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not going to, I won't use it, but the more screwed up you are, the more shit that you did, the more dangerous stuff, the more screwed up you are, the more people you screwed over, the more near death experience, the more divorce, the more almost killing yourself, the more you're praised and put up on a pedestal. Like it should be the opposite. I mean,
Right.
But we put them on pedestals, making like their worst. Oh, wow. You know what that does to a lot of people? I'll tell you what it does. Okay. It minimizes their drinking. So a young person comes in and hears all the war stories, right? And they say to themselves, shit, I didn't do none of that shit, man. I still got a lot to drink yet. Let me go to hell out, do some more experimenting, and wait till man, that guy, shit, and he's still living. Damn, I got a lot of drinking to do yet. I'll be back in another 5 years, okay, buddy? Because I know people close to me that did it. Their story wasn't enough. I had one person very close to me say, my story's not great enough. They went out for 10 years. They went out for another 10 years, and their story got way worse than mine. You know what I mean? So, that war story shit. Yeah, I hear you on that. Well, I'm glad we're together. That's all. That's Joey C., my co-host. And of course, this is Bobby C. With Anonymous Addiction at My Truth About AA, and Bobby C. sees it. And this is only our opinion. Check out your own stuff. Because when you go to a tradition meeting, you're going to hear everything good, everything beautiful about it, everything positive. You can't hear negative, because if you talk negative and criticize, they'll look at you like, wow, why is he even in a tradition meeting? Or why is he, So we're just giving you some other ideas to look at, check out, and this is part one of a three-part series, three-part series. And Joey and I will be back and doing part 2. Why don't you, what do you want to close with, Joe?
Well, we'll try and do the next one in 15 minutes.
We'll never do it.
I think we failed miserably on this one. But hey, I don't really give a shit.
Neither do I. I had a good time.
6, 7, 8, and
We're 5, 6, 7, 8.
check me
5,
out
6,
on
7, 8.
Brutally Sober podcast.
Yeah, and Alcoholics Anonymous, Deprogramming
5, 6, 7, 8.
podcast. Please subscribe and like. We're trying our best. We're new at this. We're just trying our best. We're doing the best we can. All I could tell you, it's helping me and Joey. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Joey,
That's it.
stay on, Joey. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.